Welcome to another episode of Shabbat Club, where we talk about good food, good friends, and how to host without losing your mind. Today, I am being joined by one of my very best friends and someone who loves Shabbat just as much as I do, Sarah from ChallahBackGirls.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom.
Sarah brings the party and the bagels everywhere she goes.
But I hear we're not making bagels today.
No, this is strictly not for sharing. I'm sorry, but you will not eat any of those. Those are for me exclusively. But I wanted to bring Sarah here.
You do see.
There. I wanted to bring Sarah here because you can't have Shabbat without
that beautiful braided loaf.
Thank you.
Called Challah. Let's talk about it.
And Sarah literally makes challah for her job. She makes her livelihood out of challah. She started a company named ChallahBackGirls. When did you start it?
ChallahBackGirls was founded by myself and my siblings.
Oh, yes. I did bring the wine.
Almost 6 years ago. ChallahBackGirls began with myself and my siblings almost 6 years ago in our childhood home. During the peak of COVID, we were sharing our Jewish tradition, our love of food, our love of challah, our love of connecting with people during a very dark and isolated time. And what better way we thought and felt to combine our love of challah and passion for baking and amplifying and celebrating Jewish joy and sharing it with people across backgrounds, ages, faiths, etc. Joy.
And you know what? Even through all of our years of friendship and conversations, I've never even known what you did before you did ChallahBackGirls.
Oh, I worked at a Jewish nonprofit in marketing, so I
had no idea.
I brought that joy and passion into the journey. We all kind of had our own strengths that we brought to the table, quite literally. And then as things grew, as our lives evolved, as COVID grew, ChallahBackGirls grew with it, and before we know it, we were shipping challah nationwide and partnering with organizations, brands, and communities to celebrate Jewish joy and make a difference in the world.
Sarah's also known for her bread puns, which 90% of our conversations are bread puns, which I appreciate. And for our time together today, I made us some challah dough because it takes some time to rise. You know, we're busy ladies. We don't always have all the time in the world, so I wanted to get that ready. But I'm embarrassed because when I took it out of the fridge, something happened. And I think it's probably something that many people experience.
All good bread stories start with something happened.
And that something is a small explosion of flavor, I would say.
Yes, looks like it.
For someone who's maybe new to making challah, could you let us know that this is okay?
More than okay. We're going to knead it. We're going to shape it. It smells good. It looks good. No two challahs, even with machines, even with the same person doing it, every single challah represents something different than the one before and will look a little bit different than what it did before.
Obsessed.
It'll taste delicious.
We'll kind to that.
We'll kind to that.
It's better to have someone with me so I don't have to do this a lot. So I made a classic challah recipe. I like to add a little bit of turmeric to mine because I really love the look of like a really eggy challah. I make an eggy challah, but I don't know. I put turmeric in it today because it just kind of presents really beautifully as a really golden and sunny challah.
Yeah.
And this week we have a very big winter storm and I feel like I need a little bit of sunshine.
Sunshine and turmeric, that sounds fancy. So we're fancy.
Incredible. This recipe, I actually use the Adina Sussman recipe for her classic olive oil and honey challah.
Yeah.
And I thought we could braid it or shape it in any way together. So I would like to delegate the rest of this to you now. But if we can each shape a challah. I'm not interested in working anymore. But maybe you can talk us through what makes challah while you get the dough ready to shape.
Okay. I love that. I'm going to pull my hair up.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be here. So Sarah and I met maybe 3 years ago now? 2.5 years ago? October 2023, we were both a part of this new cohort of Jewish creators. And we were really, I think, the only two food people in this cohort, if I remember correctly. And so we were obviously paired up together. We spoke on Zoom and fell in love. And that is our origin story, and the rest is history. So I've been fortunate enough to be able to travel to New York, New Jersey, where Sarah lives multiple times a year. But this weekend is so special because Sarah is joining us for Shabbat Club here, but also physically at Shabbat Club tomorrow. So I'm so excited to have her here. We're going to bundle up in this winter storm, eat challah, drink wine, pet the dog.
Break bread.
And break bread, obviously. So it's always nice to be joined by a friend, because Shabbat Club is meant to be shared with either one person you like, maybe many people that you like, or maybe just yourself if you're into yourself that day. So it's better to do Shabbat and challah with friends.
Amen.
And I've had many ChallahBackGirls challahs in my day, and they are all delicious. Get the onion roll. Kind of pissed she didn't bring me, but that's fine. Now she's changed. She's ready to work now.
Okay.
So at this point, so our dough has risen.
Yes.
And like Sarah said, 1,001 things can impact what your challah looks like. It can be cold outside, cold inside, humidity, the end of your flour bag, the beginning of it, the age of your eggs, literally everything.
Yes. And what's crazy, we call it the dough ball method.
Okay.
So it's like a snowball method where everything impacts one another, from ingredients to people to who you're braiding with. And that's also in a cheesy way and in a really delicious way. That's what makes ChallahBackGirls, because we love to do this and just break bread and teach each other and just do this with each other. Great connection, so to speak.
100%. Even Buckley the dog wants to get in.
Oh, yes.
He is aware of what's going on right now, which is a problem.
He's very communicative.
He's incredibly.
Ask for what you need.
Yeah.
Pun intended. So sorry. I told you. So sorry.
And so when I'm making my challah dough, I always want to make sure that at the end of it, it feels like a sticky tap, but it's not necessarily going to stick to my hands. If it's too dry, we're going to come out with a really dense loaf. It's better to have it a little bit looser, I think, than drier, because I'd rather have an imperfect braid but a delicious loaf versus a really perfect tight braid that comes with a dense loaf. Yes, but we are making challah. I'm not interested in helping you right now. So how does this dough feel?
Oh, this dough is delightful.
I added quite a bit of turmeric to it, so it's going to be very golden.
I mean, it looks golden. I just feel healthier and more sophisticated with it.
There is nothing in there
to make that. Thank you, turmeric. Okay.
So I did bring this for us to cut it in half so we can get our dough ready.
With the palms of our hands, we're going to knead it just to make sure all the bubbles are out. And I made this pretty good. Find out.
With pleasure. Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
And what does kneading do at this point?
Kneading gets all the bubbles out, makes the dough smooth and ready to braid.
And also creates tension in the dough, which is what the gluten needs to really hold its shape. So even by rolling a rope or when you're rolling other doughs, giving it that tension gives it that kind of, that inner texture that we're really looking for. When you pull it apart, it doesn't just crumb, it almost makes strains of challah dough, which is what you want.
The gluten pull.
Exactly.
Like the cheese pull.
Exactly.
Okay. Dough feels good. Feels good.
Buckwheat, you want to go outside?
He knows. He knows that when Shabbat comes and this comes out of the oven.
My dog loves challah more than most should. Oh, he just wanted water. God, I hate when that happens. I feel so guilty.
Water of wine.
Yeah, it's fine.
And he smells it and feels happy. It's literally.
It's okay. You're fine.
Okay, so you brought this to.
Because we're going to make this into 2 challahs.
Gorgeous.
Are we going to do it?
Yeah, let's do that.
So I would usually use a bench scraper, but I forgot where I put it. So here we are.
Such is life.
Such is life. So it's a little sticky, but that's fine. Okay. And then what is your preferred strand?
I love a classic 3.
Okay.
I do. I love a classic 3. 4 is weirdly the hardest for me to wrap around, but I love how she looks.
Have you ever done a more than 4?
Yes, I have done a more than 4. I've dabbled with a 5, and lately I've been doing a lot of 6s. Man, yours is so cute and smooth. There are a few different ways to make 5s and 6s. Some are more raised with some challahs.
Almost have like a baby challah on top of it. It's like sometimes.
My dough wants to just be with me all the time.
It missed you. My dough wants nothing to do with it. It's stunning.
These are so pretty.
I want to do a 4. That's my preferred.
Okay,
strand.
you know what?
That's my comfort zone is a 4. But that's only because it's what I've been working.
I'll do a 4.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. See if we do it the same. Who knows? I feel like 4 feels fancy, but once you like get into the rhythm, you're like, oh, I can do this. I actually might do some of my strands dipped in seeds.
So we've been doing that a lot, both like for our family and also in communities. People just, I feel like, appreciate a different aesthetic every once in a while. And instead of just topping it after the egg wash,
100%.
to just do that.
It's funny because I never take my rings off. I wanted to go get like my ring service or something, and there was so much challah dough in it. I thought this jeweler was gonna slap me and be like, "You can't
Upcharge.
Yeah. She's like, "What is that?" And I was like, "Literal."
So why do you think, Chef Micah, that my hands are sticking more to it than yours are?
Maybe you got climbing earrings.
Maybe.
Do you want some oil?
I just got off the plane. I was like, genuinely, I was like, why do I just have like a different temperature on me?
If it feels a little sticky at home, sometimes it does help just to oil your hands slightly, so that you have a little bit of kind of less friction in them. So it's better to oil it than to like add flour at this point, I think.
We learned that the hard way. So growing up in New Jersey and starting this in New Jersey, we encountered a lot of freezing days, and so the kitchen was just so cold, and the challahs would not rise. Like they just wouldn't rise, and they would be rocks. And we had to figure out how to move forward in the temperature.
I don't think people really appreciate how much temperature can change, and then people just get frustrated when their challah doesn't turn out from one season to the next.
For sure.
I find summer is the hardest time for me to make challah because it gets so hot here that I like want it to rise for that hour or so or hour plus, and then overproofs all the time. So because it gets so hot, it gets like to 90 plus degrees in our house sometimes.
Yeah.
And it can be really challenging to manage that.
Yeah. There was one time we did proof the dough outside. Okay. So we covered it with a net and
a net, like a bug net.
Yeah. It was like a hair,
like a shower cap.
A shower cap. Yes. Okay. A shower cap for the bowl.
Oh, smart. A bowl net. That's actually a great idea.
We don't want any bugs in those.
Absolutely not.
We did that and it proofed in. I don't know if the shorter rise but higher heat is necessarily like better than
so much of the flavor from challah and like any yeasted bread comes from that time proofing. So it's more flavorful to have a cold proof, longer proof dough.
Yeah.
So I'll often make my dough Thursday night and then bake it in the morning. So it gets a really nice flavor, and because then I don't have to think about it on Friday.
Yeah, and then find out super fresh.
Super fresh, not warm. Nothing like it.
And so I also learned over time, a lot of people say, like, how do you just get like a long strand of dough?
Yeah.
Sometimes because I'm walking around a lot with dough is what does.
Yeah.
I end up like massaging it standing, but really
like a pizza chef.
Like a pizza chef. That's me. Now we're just hungry. But to start from the middle and kind of with your fingertips.
Yeah, making that tension, making a little snakery.
No, I think a lot of people are really intimidated by making challah, and I was not the baker of the family until recently. Yes, I like to cook and to throw in berries and not measure anything.
So for me to put my seeds on, I like to put my strand in a little bit of water.
Yeah.
And then I coat it, and that acts as like a glue around here because I really want it to just be on this strand and not on the others. I think I'll do 2 strands of sesame. I'm a big sesame queen. I love a sesame. Do this one. And I'm just using the bowl that I proofed in because nobody wants to do another bowl doing this.
Yes.
Anyone else?
Yeah, you don't need to dirty more dishes than required.
Absolutely. But at least I know I have another human in the house this week to
That I can
clean my dishes for me. This is why you came here, right?
Dishes, dough. Yeah.
And ChallahBackGirls has a lot of flavorful challahs. Not like your average sesame or poppy. What's been the most popular flavor and what's been the flavor that you wish was more popular that you were like, no, it just didn't happen for us?
So that's a great question. I'm a big cookies and cream girly, and so I love the Oreo challah.
Yeah.
But the most popular specialty is probably the apple cinnamon sugar.
Interesting.
We had it on the menu for the high holidays, and then we took it off the menu after the high holidays, and
People said it does?
yeah, I had a lot of angry emails.
So I'll take this course.
Yeah, so you should not touch things.
And it's funny because I'm not a sweet girl at all. I like the chocolate, a dark chocolate after dinner, the odd little Oreo cookie, you know. I'm not a big sweets girl.
No.
And so I always bug Sarah for more savory options, which is probably also why I love that onion roll.
The onion rolls, and I'm not such a savory person, but the onion rolls are so good, like to freeze, and then you take one out and put a egg sandwich. We could have
this tomorrow if only brought one. So you're setting yours up already a little differently than me. Are you going to set it up like this too?
Yes.
Okay, you are.
Yeah.
I was like, are we doing this differently? Mine is
that would be another video.
I find that mine, I always make mine maybe a little bit too thin. You know, I need to like make them a little thicker. I feel like I make them too long. I don't know. But this is just me on my challah journey, you know?
We all have a solid journey. I trust me.
So first of all, I put my little tops together and then I cross mine over. And that's like the basis of my challah. And it's funny, the more I talk about it, the less confident I feel doing it.
Okay, should not talk about it.
No, we can talk about it. We can talk about it. And then I go to the middle. And then I go over. Are we doing
Which one do you... Wait, go back.
this one. So the
This
second
one.
one in, I put over to the side. And then the one that was to the side of that, I put in the middle.
Yeah.
And then on the next side, if this is 1, 2, I put the second one over, 1 in the middle. And then I go 2 over, 1 in the middle, 2 over, but switching the sides each time, you know? Is that what you do? But then I once also saw another way to braid a 4-string shidween or holiday that was like a whoosh, a whoosh, a whoosh, a whoosh, you know? Probably not.
I almost just said no just so you would do the whoosh sound.
But it actually was also another really easy way to make challah. So maybe one day I'll just do a whole how to make challah, how to shape challah, and I'll just like use pizza dough. I'll also say, I know that this is probably sacrilegious to say in front of Sarah, but if there's a bakery by you or someone else that makes challah by you or a Sarah Loftman by you, and you're like, I just can't make challah this week, that's also totally okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
you know what? Do what you need to do to get a form of bread on the table. I don't make mine every week. If it's just me and my husband and son, like I buy it from a good bakery. And that's totally okay. Or if you can't buy it from ChallahBackGirls. So I just feel like if you don't feel confident in your challah, hot bread is good bread. You give me any hot bread and I'll be like, yes. Yes, you give me the worst challah and bagel that ever existed. I'll be like, no problem. Yes, I will eat this. And so
Say what you need.
do what you need to do. Then maybe I'll fit in the same number. What's it done?
You telling me? I'll either open it in OS.
Go to the camera just in case. Love you guys. So whatever challah makes its way to your table is the right challah for you.
That's what also I think makes... That's what I think also makes challah special, is that it could look different. Like the actual bread could look different from week to week, whether you're trying different bakeries or trying different ChallahBackGirls flavors.
Obviously.
And the conversations that happen around that table, people who come together or who wouldn't normally come together, be in the same room, sharing and talking about people's relationships to challah. Just from what's in front of you. I love that. I totally nerd out over all of that. And it doesn't matter what the flavor actually is or where it comes from. It's just everywhere around the world, a Jewish table will be having
challah of sorts.
Yeah.
So my next question for you is, I feel like whenever I egg wash, the end product, like there's little spots, like these little edges get all the egg wash, but then these little inner portions get not.
The crevice.
Do you have a crevice hack for me? You can't take us anywhere.
I have never been asked that, so specifically a crevice hack. Now we're gonna have to have a whole separate branding, a branding meeting.
Because your challahs are very nice and glossy, and I have always appreciated nice glossy challah, like when I get it at a bakery and it's like so shiny on top. When I make mine at home, based on how it rises, sometimes I get like a little bit of gloss, sometimes I get like a little basically scrambled egg in the corner.
Yes,
and I do this for a living.
Yeah, which is also always the funniest part. Like people who do it so regularly, we're so accustomed to our routine and our ways of doing it that to actually think of it as a crevice hack or from a different angle is complex. Again, it's an out-of-body experience. So what we do though is when we egg wash, we intentionally start with the crevices.
Okay.
So sometimes we'll do like each braid and then go down the middle.
Okay, on like, and it kind of like falls into it.
Yes, but make sure you're really doing that because brushing it over, delicious and delightful, but to actually do the crevices, well.
And do you use a white and a yolk? So
we
just use whites.
We use just the yolk. So we do a one yolk to water.
That's so interesting because sometimes people just do white.
Yeah.
Some people do both. Some people apparently just do yolks.
So we just do yolk. That's just also probably why it's a little extra shiny.
Seriously.
Yolk. But you can also, we've put a little salmon in or a little
date syrup.
Date syrup. A little maple syrup.
Okay.
Sometimes just for an extra shine. Some people have asked when they're making a vegan challah, what do you use? When
I make a vegan challah, I'll use a wash of maple syrup and like olive.
Yeah.
It doesn't get quite as glossy, but it does really make like a nice sweet crust because I like my challah really sweet. And like it's funny because I like my challah sweet, but also savory. You know?
That doesn't surprise me one bit. So people who love savory love the combo.
Yeah.
For people who lean sweet, will usually either go sweet or savory.
Yeah.
It's very rare that I would have like pretzels and chocolate together, even though it's
For real?
an amazing dessert.
I have learned so much about you just today. And this is someone who talks to you all the time.
Yeah.
This has been so educational for me.
It's also educational for me. Because as I'm saying things out loud, I'm like, I would have a chocolate covered pretzel.
So you're lying. I'm kidding.
Maybe chips. Something like chips is a better example.
Interesting.
Like a Lay's and a chocolate. I wouldn't really have that.
Interesting.
That's too. Yeah.
Whoa. You're wild and crazy. Super wild and crazy.
We are wildly crazy.
So at this point, some recipes will tell you to egg wash right away, let it rise to 20 minutes.
Yes.
Do you let it rise another 30, 40 minutes?
So
you do that?
Our first rise happened already with your gorgeous. Yeah. And the second rise, we'll cover with a warm damp towel and let it rise for an hour. Just about an hour. Yeah. Okay. Depending on temperature too.
Yeah, sure. So let it rise for a little.
When we've done some challah bakes over the summer, especially in a camp or like retreat kind of vibe, it's so hot, especially when the buildings don't really have circulated air, venti fans, or let alone fans. So it starts to rise so quickly. We'll egg wash and let it rise like that.
Okay.
Like half an hour.
We can let this rise and then we'll egg wash it and then we can, when it's done, come back on. It'll be tomorrow because we're going to cook these today.
So average.
So we'll have enough. But that's totally fine. I think it's nice to be able to have that together, but we can't eat it because then we have Shabbat Club we have to break them too. So, but we will wrap them up. But knowing that we are making this in advance, I will often make my dough, braid it, and then after first rise, braid, and then put it in the freezer.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everyone how to prep your dough in advance? Like if you were saying to someone, if you want to prep, let's say make a big batch of challah dough, like what does it look like to prep it in advance? Do you think it's better to just bake them all off and freeze them baked, or freeze the dough before baking?
Yes. So we get this question often, especially in these moments where it's like, okay, do I go home and bake it, or do I go home and stick it in the freezer? It's kind of like, what's that phrase? 13,
Six of one, half a dozen of the other.
Just reminds me of dozen of bagels. Anyway, so it's like either or. We've gone home and put them right into the freezer and then take them out, and we actually will take it out of the freezer the night before, and then let it slow rise in the fridge, and then cover it with a warm damp towel the next day.
I think that's where most people go wrong, is that they don't let it rise enough that second rise, and then they'll be like, oh, it's been out here for an hour and that's the second rise time, but you really need to get it to a warmer temperature before putting it out in for it to actually rise.
Right, because it's not even just about, okay, clock is ticking, 60 minutes, let's go. Like, we're in the middle of winter, we're cooking in a home environment, like there are a lot of factors, and you really, really want this to rise. At the same time, there is an over-cooking or over-rise situation. They have to be careful,
like what I did earlier.
Well, and that was just a still, even like over the bowl. So like a little punch of the dough.
My bowl was too small.
The bowl was a little small.
But also I needed to make the dough, and then I was getting Sarah from the airport, and I almost got a ticket from getting there too soon, and then we had to eat lunch because we were so hungry, and here we are.
I have to talk to the airport security. They really should spend one day at Newark, and then we'll see how overwhelmed they really are.
Honestly, if our dough is overproofed, it's because of airport security.
We should give them the ticket.
Anyways, fine.
We freeze our challah after baking it too, and then we'll do similar. We'll take it out either the morning of Shabbat or the morning we want to eat it, or the night before if you're having it for brunch. The next day, and we stick it in the oven to warm it up.
What do you warm it up?
Delicious. We warm it at 250 for about half an hour.
So something that I've done with the ChallahBackGirls challah is, especially because we're in a vegetarian household, so all of our meals we eat dairy at meals, butter, we love it. But what I've done is I have taken, because her challahs come in like a little loaf pan often, is I will put butter on top, wrap it in tin foil, and then put it in the oven at 250 for a little bit so that the butter melts. And it is so good. And then sometimes I'll put like on everything, maple spice on it. Or sometimes I like one sesame free and sesame free.
So this is such a treat also.
So that's something I like to do. So I'll often reheat my challah. Not that we often have extras, but when I've done that, because I've gotten hers in the mail, and I'll put them in the freezer if I'm not ready to eat them, but I like to put them in with some butter. Even some olive oil would be delicious on there, just like a little bit more, to add some that moisture and richness, because no matter what bread you have, even if it was cooked the day before then frozen, it always loses a little bit of that fresh bread magic. And just popping it back in the oven is how you have to get that, but it fruits. Okay, the last question until we come back to work is, what do you do? What's your favorite way to use your leftover challah? What are you making with a leftover challah or a batch that got ugly and can't sell?
French toast, for sure, especially...
I was about to drink this like wine. I have to move that.
The French toast, and I'm not even such a French... I like French toast, but I don't... It's not like go-to brunch food. But French toast is such a good go-to, because even if the bread is a little bit dry, or it didn't proof as long, or it was too cold, didn't thaw enough, but whatever it is, it will always be divine in a French toast kind of batch mixture. The smell, the taste, the ambiance.
I know. If someone also who's not a big French toast girly, the only way to eat it is with challah. If you give me sourdough bread, I'll throw it back.
Most people, especially the non-Jewish challah lovers, who don't even realize that they're challah lovers until you say, oh, have you tried challah before? And they look at you a little side-eye, and you're like, oh, it's the braided bread that usually is on the menu as a challah French toast. And I'm like, oh, that has Jewish significance, or a symbolic significance. So
and that's how and they didn't even know it. which we love. So we're going to let this rise, and we will do the washing in the crevices off camera. So you have to go get my son from daycare. But then we'll show you our beautiful loaves tomorrow at Shabbat Club. Yay. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
It's so much fun. And I hope to see you I hope to see you at all of our Shabbat Clubs.
I can't wait. Thanks for having me.
Hey.
Shabbat Shalom.